Good morning to everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. And while we wait for other members to join, let's look back at our journey so far. And yeah, so last October, we kicked off with our first session in the industry working group, and we have come a long way and achieved most of our milestones with all of your support. So thank you all for your continuous involvement in making India a digital society that recognizes and values standardized skills. Today, we are the largest digital infrastructure for verifiable credentials in the talent industry, which is, of course, aligned with National Skills Qualification Framework in India. And that is our benchmark to establish a common language for skills. I'm very happy to say that every week there are new members joining the ICID ecosystem, and we have reached 1 million transactions on our platform. So thank you all again for your support in issuing skill credentials and making Indian workforce more skilled and powerful digitally. So as you all know, this not just validates that a platform like this is essential, but we also know that it is necessary, right? Because of the complex challenges of traditional verification methods, lack of trust online, fraud, misrepresentation of data, time and cost of manual processes, etc., etc. So by adopting to Wipro the ICID platform, we are eliminating all of that, right? And as we move forward, we look ahead to each member of our working group to continue issuing these standardized skills. Um, Today, we will present the finalized work experience credential. And as you all know, we rolled out a survey on this last week. Thank you all for your valuable inputs and responses. Based on that, we have finalized and collated and finalized the credentials required for work experience. And my colleague Hitashi, he will now do a quick recap on the fundamentals of the schema and verification template. And then he would present the work experience credential standards. Okay, over to you, Hitashi.
Uh, yeah, thank you, Anita. Hello, everyone. So, we'll quickly go over what DICE ID is, why do we need a schema and verification template, and then we'll also see, what a work experience credential should look like. This is based on, the feedback that we took from all of you. And then we'll also see a demo in DICE ID console on how to issue and verify a work experience credential, which is similar to, a skill credential, but slightly different, right? And then we'll discuss the next steps, right, followed by Q&A. So so coming to this slide here, which many of you would have seen earlier. So here, DICE ID, helps create an ecosystem, right, through which trust is established between the credential issuer and the verifier, right? And the end user, who is the credential holder, will have, one or more credentials in their identity wallet, right? And they will be able to prove irrefutably that they have a particular skill or they have a particular work experience, right? Through by presenting that credential to the verifier, right? So this trust ecosystem is built, and as part of that, obviously credentials have to be exchanged, right? And the credentials are get created based on a certain data structure, right? And that data structure is what we call as schema, right? So the schema contains all the attributes and the data types of the credential that needs to be issued. And this schema is something which gets registered on the DICE ID blockchain network. It's on the blockchain network. We don't store any private or confidential data. right? Only the structure of the credential, which is called schema, gets stored, right? And who created that schema is also getting stored, right? So, for example, as you, as a member organization, when you get onboarded to the production environment of Dice ID, your, you know, your organization account or decentralized identifier gets created on blockchain network or along with the public key, right? And when the schema is created from your organization account, that gets registered on the blockchain network, and it is signed by your organization's key, right? So anybody looking at a particular schema would know that this schema has been created by so and so organization, and since it is, that organization is part of the Dice ID network, it is a valid organization. And while verifying the credentials, the same schema structure and the public key of the issuing organization is something which is used to verify the signature, right? So that's how technically it gets validated. So every time an end user submits their credentials as proof, there is a sure shot way of verifying whether that credential is valid or not, whether it has, and it has not been tampered with, right? And all of this is based on industry standards, which are, published by the W3C, consortium, right? So, so that's where, that's how Dice ID works. And here two important concepts which we had covered in the last session also. The one is obviously the structure of the credential, which we call it as a schema, right? And the other aspect for the verifier is the verification template, right? So the verifier can create a verification template that represents the attributes they want from the credential holder or the end user as proof, right? And if the verification template, attributes match the attributes which are defined in the schema, then the end user can submit those credentials as proof, right? So it is very important that we follow a standard, right? In terms of how on what basis the credential is being created, whether it is for skill, whether it is for work experience, and similarly, the same set of attributes are also used for verification, right? So that's how we will ensure that whatever credentials are issued on Dice ID platform have that interoperability, have and can be exchanged seamlessly between the credential issuer, holder, and the verifier, right? So that is the importance of having a schema and verification template follow the standards, and this is further illustrated in the next slide, right? So here, as a credential issuer, you can log into Dice ID console. You'll see a standard list of schemas that have been defined, whether it is for skill credentials. There is also a credential, schema for community pass, and we are reaching out to many of you for explaining that concept. And now we'll also introduce work experience schema, right? So once the schema has been defined for your organization, then n number of credentials can be issued based on that schema, right? And once uh, the credential has been issued, the notification goes to the credential holder, right? And they have to basically get those credentials in Dice ID app by scanning a QR code, right? And once they get the credential, so here the attributes in this example are for a skill credential, but a similar concept applies to work experience credentials also. So they will get those credentials in their identity wallet, which is the Dice ID app, and then when they want to apply for a job or prove that they have a certain, work experience, right? Or they have a certain skill, that's when they would submit this credential as a proof, right, to the verifier, to the credential verifier. And uh, the basis of that submission is based on a verification template, right? So the verification template needs to be based on the standard work experience schema that was created by the credential issuer, right? So I'll show you in a demo that how the credential, the schema that is created by the issuers, is available for the verifiers also, based on which the verification template can be created, right? So for example, if the schema has 10 attributes with a certain name and data type, and if the verification template is also created based on that, then this entire process of exchange of credentials and submitting it as a proof works seamlessly, right? And we want to avoid a situation where each and every organization is, creating their own set of credentials, which is possible, by the way. We are not restricting that. But then that would just mean that the credential verifiers, will have to create those many number of verification templates, right? And managing that will become very cumbersome. So that's why following a standard is important. And we are, providing a means of pre-creating or bootstrapping your organization when account with the standard schema, right? So you don't have to again go through the entire process of, adding all the attributes and data types, and you can quickly start issuing credentials rather than worrying about creating the schema on your own, right? So that's something which is already available. Okay. So with that said, now, we had conducted a survey, and we also internally brainstormed as to, what a work experience credential should look like, right? So that, because that is the primary agenda of this call, of this session. So these are some of the attributes that we have finalized. So I'll go through each one of them in terms of, what the work experience schema should look like, right? So some of the attributes are quite obvious. For example, name of the person to whom the work experience credential is being issued, their email, their phone number, right? So that is, bare minimum as to, you know what we need to capture in terms of contact details of that individual who was an employee of that organization, right? Then designation is the last official designation held by the employee in the organization. So again, this is a text field. Date of joining, and date of leaving. Again, even now when we get a work experience letter, right, from our organizations, these are pretty standard, fields where you say, the date of joining and separation is mentioned. Employer name and address is, because when the credential is sent to a user, and the user then submits that credential as a proof of their work experience, the employer details is also required for the verifying organization to know where they were employed, and if at all they need to contact the employer, then there should be some details around it. That's where the address and email is important, and to, know what entity it was, where the user was working. Type of employment, again, full time or part time, is an important attribute to be known when we are, we are assessing whether the employment history. And this role description is again a optional field, which will, where you can further qualify, because the designation might be, you know say manager or an architect, right, in an IT organization, but that doesn't tell you much about what the person did in their last organization. So this is something which can be populated with the roles and responsibilities of what that person did in the organization, right? So these are the standard fields. So these fields, these attributes and their data types is something which will be, created as a schema in Dice ID, and it will be available for your usage in the platform console, right? So you can all start by your development testing activities in the UAT environment, right? And once you are done with, uh, trying it out, testing it in, and those of you are who are integrating with our APIs, so all that development testing effort work can be done in the UAT environment. And but it is then important to move to the production environment, because that is the real deal, right? That's where the transactions matter, right? And that's where you would issue the actual credential to your end users, right? Because UAT environment is for testing only, and the production environment is where the transactions get recorded on Dice ID mainnet, and that's what will be considered as a valid transaction, right? So, so yeah, so these are some of these are the attributes that we have finalized, right? And uh, I think I'll pause for questions now, if there are any.
Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions, or you can put it on chat, however you're comfortable. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the next part, of the session is a demo, right? So here, I'll walk you through these steps, and show how it is done in the platform console, right? So basically, first is to sign up and sign in. So if any one of you has not signed up on our UAT environment, please do so, and you will get a login credential through which you can sign in. Then, you know, uh, basically create a work experience credential schema, right? That's what yeah, I'll show you what that schema looks like. Then issue a test credential, right? To so I'll use the batch issuance mode there, and then I'll accept that credential as a credential holder, right? Uh, so basically, uh, you know, so that that credential appears or gets downloaded in the Dice ID app, right? And once that credential is available, then I'll create a verification template so that the credential I got as a in my wallet, I can submit it for verification, right? So those are the steps that will be followed. As a credential issuer, you would only have to do till step 3, right? And once you issue a credential, the email notification will go to your end user, and then they will carry out the step 4. And as a verifier, who want to validate the work experience, there is a you need just need to create the verification template, which is based on the standard schema, and embed the verification QR code in your business application, right? So whenever any user who is a, let's say, a job applicant wants to submit their credentials, they scan the verification QR code and then submit their credentials as proof, right? So that's what I'll show in the demo. uh, just give me a second. I'll stop presenting for a minute. Just give me a second. All right. So I have everything set up. I'll just again share my screen. All right. Is my screen visible now? Again?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Give me a sec. I'll just switch to. All right. So this is the Dice ID console. I'm sure many of you would have already used it, right? So I have just logged in, using my login credentials to the platform console UI, and one of the things that needs to be done before issuing a credential is defining a schema, right? So I'm going to go under credentials to schema, right? And obviously, you're free to create any schema, so you just have to click on create schema. You can, define, name the schema, right? And specify the version number, and you can add as many attributes as you want, right? So in today's example, we are going to see what a work experience credential looks like, right? So this is something which I have already created for this particular session, right? So this work experience schema, the name, the version number is there, and then these are the attributes. So these are the exact same attributes which I was showing on uh, in the presentation, right? So name, email, phone, designation, all these attributes along with the data types, right? Is provided here. Dice display name is a mandatory attribute for all credentials, which is nothing but the name of the credential. So you can have you know, a customized name for the credential as it gets issued, right, to the end user. So, and that's what they will see in their Dice ID mobile app, right? So once the work experience schema has been created, right, the next step is to start issuing the credential, right? So I'm going to use the batch issuance mode. Now, uh, for those who haven't tried it, the way to use batch issuance is that you select the medium of sending the invitation, so which typically is email, and email is better because there you can provide the context to the end user as to why they've been sent this credential, what is it about, and what they need to do to get the credential, and then select the schema from this drop down. So and once you click on download, that sample file will get with the attributes will get downloaded, right? So the next step would be to populate the uh, the the CSV file. Okay, so just give me a second. I'm also trying to share my mobile app. Yeah, so I'll do that later. So now once the CSV has been downloaded, we need to populate it, right? So that is something what I have done here. So these are the attributes of the schema. As you can see, name, email, phone number. The phone number needs to be of a specific format, right? So it is a text field, obviously, and so we'll specify. So this is the correct format for the phone number, designation, right? And again, the date is something which needs to be in a DDMMM format, right? Any date that is there as part of the credential. Then I've chosen some fictional name for the employer name. Let's say this is the uh, address and the employer email. the type of employment, role description. Again, this could be, you know, for uh, for a, uh, travel app, right? Something like that. So the role description could be as detailed as you want. And this is the dice display name. So when the credential is obtained by the user, this is what it will show in their list of credentials, because in the dice ID app, they will have many credentials, right? So this is how the credential name can be specified, right? So now that I have created this CSV and populated it with data, I'm just going to save it, right? I'll go back to our platform console. Here I need to upload this CSV file, right? So I can, so since I'm issuing this to Jane, so I'll just, uh, you know, uh, give some alias name. This is for tracking of this particular batch. And here, in email, this is the email notification that will go to the end user, right? Now, there is, you can always use the default email template. So it has some standard text which says that, okay, you have been issued by a credential by so and so organization, right? And these are the steps to get your credential. But if you want a customized image, email to be sent to your end users, right? You can define uh, that in the email template section, right? So for example, I have created one email template, right? So let's quickly look at what that email template looks like, right? So here, you know, if you see the preview of this email, so here, I've so this text, this logo here can be your organization logo. The text, the greetings text here, as well as the body, right, which gives some context of the credential being issued, right? So this is something which has been customized and set up here. The instructions to get a credential are standard, so that won't change. So that would require the end user to download the app and scan the QR code, right? If they have opened their email in their mobile app, then they have to open this deep link. I mean, click on this deep link, right, which will automatically open the Dice ID app. And finally, the end message is also something which you can customize and say that, any action to be taken after getting the credentials, right? And you can also provide your signature here. So all of that can be set up in the email template, right? And why email template is important is because, whenever the notification goes to an end user who doesn't know about, credentials, or they don't have much background, so this is where they can get that context, right? And this will ensure that your end users are, taking action and getting the credentials as they are supposed to. Okay, so that is regarding the email template. Now let me go back to the batch issuance mode, where we were, you know um, going to process the batch, right, to issue the credential. Now I'm selected email. I'm going to select the work experience email template, right? And then I'm going to select the schema that we have defined, right? And for this schema, I had populated a CSV file with all the data, right? So I'm going to select that, so that, so basically that would contain, the information that using the credential data, basically, right? Based on which this credential needs to be issued. So once I click on upload, the CSV file gets upload completed, and I would have received a notification saying that connection invite sent to Jane Doe, right? And in the upload history, if you see, Jane work experience batch has been run, today at 11:35, and it got completed. So that means, the validation of the data that I submitted by a batch got completed, and the notification has been sent, right? So this invitation is sent as an email. So I've used, info@diceid.com as the uh, you know as the test email. So here, as you can see, I've received an email. Okay, it contains the subject line as per the email template I defined, right? And it has all the text that I had put in the email template. And this is the QR code, which needs to be scanned to get the credential, right? So, and once the so all of that text is sent to um, to the end user. So now let me also share my mobile app. So as a credential holder, I will have a Dice ID app, right? And I would, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to scan this QR code, right? So so a secure connection gets established with the issuing organization, right, through the Dice ID platform. And once the connection has been established, then the credentials start getting downloaded. Obviously, there is a encryption and all, so it will take few seconds. And once the credentials start getting downloaded, the relevant messages are being shown here, right? And once the download is complete, the as you can see, the work experience credential is now visible in the wallet, right? So I'm going to maximize this. All the attributes and values. So attributes are as per the schema that we had defined, and values is something which we had, populated in the CSV, right? So all the attributes are provided here. Now, if I go to the credentials tab, so as you can see, I have multiple credentials, but the latest credential is the ABC Infotech work experience credential, right? And the issuer is the organization that I had created here, right? And the date, everything is available. Now, once the user has this credential in their wallet, they can use it with any of the verifiers or verifying organizations in the Dice ID ecosystem, right? So the next step is we'll see how the verifier can set up the verification template based for this work experience credential, right? So I'm going to switch back uh, to my browser, right? And in platform console we have a section for verification templates, right? So here yeah, I'll create one verification template. So by the way, as I had scanned the QR code, the notifications are also appearing in real time, right? So from connection invite sent to credential issued, right? So that is also something you can track as an issuer. Now I'll create a verification template. I'll name it, right? And a version. And this is a notification email which is used when if you're using the web page that we provide for verify for the verification QR code, right? So you'll get an email notification as a verifier whenever the QR code is scanned. Okay, now here let's say the schema has been created by some other organization, right? So you can just simply click on public schemas and search for the relevant schema, right? So here I've selected work experience credential. All the attributes that were part of that schema are automatically selected, right? And I'll just click on create verification template. So once this template has been created, right? So, uh, I can, so this has all the details, right? And as I said, we also provide a verification link, right? So this is a ready-made link for yourselves. If you don't want to, or you're not, you still have time to embed the QR code via, some development activities. This is a ready-made QR, web page, which represents uh, the QR code, verification QR code that you can send to your to the end user as a verifier. So this tells that okay, this organization is seeking information or asking you to verify your credentials. And once the credential has been submitted, it will be sent to the organization's email, right? So that's how end users can submit their credentials, and you can get the details of that credential without any development effort, right? Other options are obviously to embed the QR code in your web application, right? So that the user does not have to navigate anywhere else. So there are certain tutorials which use this all of this data, and you can set up a verification QR code in your business app as well, right? And to quickly test out this QR code, we also have provided a verify button from so I'm again to the Dice ID app. I'll scan this QR code, which represents the work experience verification template, right? And right now it is, so a matching credential has been found in my wallet, right? With all the details of the credentials that were there. So when I submit this, this information will get submitted to the verifying organization, right? It will get validated against blockchain, right? And if it is a valid credential, then the details of the credentials are now visible to the verifying organization, right? So if you integrate the verification QR code, there is a very simple boilerplate code base through which you can extract all this data and use it for your further downstream processes, right? So that's how the verification of the work experience credential can be done through this verification template. All right. So that pretty much is what we wanted to demo in terms of how schema gets created, how the credential can be issued, and how, the verification template can be used to verify the same credential, right? Uh, yeah, so I'll go back to the presentation now. All right. So we have covered all of these steps, and as a next step, we would again request for your feedback either via email, or we also have a community portal, which is specifically created for the industry working group, and for all of us to collaborate. So it's like it enables a discussion forum on several topics, right? Where you can post your comments, you can see what others are commenting, and have a a fruitful discussion, and we can arrive at a decision, right? So this is again a self sign up. So please go ahead and sign up on community.isid.com. And once we have received your feedback, we'll make any changes if required. And finally, the work experience schema and template will be available in Dice ID platform console as a standard schema by 2nd of Feb. Right. So that is the plan, next steps. All right. So yeah, any questions? Please feel free now.
Wow, Hitachi, thank you so much for that detailed demo. And everything is going to get so much easier, just looking at everything was so seamless. Great. Any questions, anybody? Okay, I think it was pretty clear and straightforward, hopefully. And as Hitachi mentioned, please feel free to, test these things out in the UAT environment and get back to us if you have any questions in future. And I have already requested most of you to, connect with me offline. We would like to know your feedback besides this as well. And also, we are in the process of adding additional features in the Dice ID app and platform. So we would like to know more feedback from you all. And by the way, just to give you all a glimpse of what's coming ahead in our roadmap. Also, maybe yesterday I sent out an email for everyone to read our latest press release. I'm going to put that link again here. Have a look at it because literally we are changing things digitally, everything is going to become so much more simpler by, issuing these kind of standards and verification. If you look back, overall, the time taken to do such thing would have been so long, but now in the matter of, seconds and minutes, things are verified and issued. So it is wonderful to see that, how technology has helped us move so much ahead. So that's a link for our press release, and I believe there are no other questions, so we could close the session. Okay.
Right. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank
Uh,
you so much. Have a